Hi, everyone.
Hey,
I'm Alicia,
and I'm Meredith.
and this is It's About the Pasta of Vanderpump Rules podcast. We have made it to the finales. This is just the beginning, but we've
Mm-hmm.
made it through the season. And before we get into talking about it, check us out on the A&M Podcast Network. We have this podcast. We have Summer is Fun, a Summer House podcast, which is also a Winter House podcast, which is also a Summer House Martha's Vineyard podcast. And we have One Season Wonders. Please be sure to rate, review, subscribe. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Vanderpasta and join our Patreon, patreon.com/Vanderpasta. Let me tell you what you can get. For $1 a month, you get access to all of our fun pre-shows where Meredith and I and sometimes Sarah talk about whatever we want because it's our show and we can do that. Also, you get access to any episodes we record early, including this one. For $2 a month, you get access to everything I just mentioned. Plus, when we go back and watch old seasons, we will do an after show to talk about current Bravo news as to not give away spoilers on the podcast. Also, we'll say your name on the podcast. So, thank you to Chris, Darby, Dee, Gabriella, Jackie, Jamie, Kristen, Casey, Kelsey, Chrissy, Lauren, Nicole, Sarah L, Sarah R, Tierney, Tonette, Tracy, Allison, Emily, Gina, Isabella, Jennifer, Leanne, Lisa, Rio, Robin, Taylor, and Tara.
Excellent. That was probably your
That was
quickest
really
pace
good.
one.
That was really good.
I mean,
I'm
when you're
no
angry, you do it
bullshit today.
best. You went into that mad that we talked for 5 seconds. Just kidding. It was like 20 minutes.
I'm no bullshit today. Um,
Not
so
today,
thank
Satan.
so being no bullshit, I appreciate you guys being part of our fucking Patreon. Anyway, so
Okay. Whoa.
for $5 a month, you get access to everything I just mentioned. Plus, when there are live seasons, which is all the time, I will post in the Patreon and ask for your questions, comments, opinions, concerns, literally anything you want, and we will read them on the podcast. Also, we'll pick a patron of the episode, which I'm not doing because
I want to do
it's
it. I want to pick
ooh,
someone.
okay, Meredith can do it.
I'm picking Tierney because Tierney is like the most active Patreon in my sense of the world, because I'm constantly DMing with her on Instagram, and I just really want to shout her out because through those conversations, I started a new series on Patreon that I'm going to do every Friday called Friday Bravo Thoughts. And like whatever is happening that week in the Bravo sphere, like I want to message with everyone about it because I love me and Tierney's one-to-one conversations, but like I'm
Mhm.
so curious then like what like Sarah will think and like Alicia, even you will think, and like
Yeah.
everybody, like I want to know. So like any show, Bravo, honestly, even not Bravo, because we have crossed over into some not Bravo stuff too.
If it has to
Um,
do with a Bravo person, we could
Person,
probably
yeah,
get
Bravo
there. Yeah.
universe preferred. Um, but yeah, so like I just want to shout her out because she's my inspiration. And for those who are on Patreon, like you can see that weekly right now. You obviously know when we're presently recording, but even people listening to this, because this is posted so much later, we've clearly been doing it for like months. So come join us on the Patreon, new shout out segment.
Can't wait. Yeah, the first one looked great. Look at us go. Okay, is that everything? Should we get into the reunion?
Let's do it. I enjoyed this reunion
I
so
was
much.
giggling.
I laughed so
I was a
hard.
little giggler. Okay, so not a lot coming up, but we have Stassi and Ariana never being friends. Sheena and the Mean Girls go head to head. Lala's gonna make an appearance. Sheena hasn't seen Shay, but he's here, so we are so
Oh, I
excited.
can't wait.
I can't wait for Shay. Anyway, so Andy does his hellos, just things to note. This is the first reunion, not at Sir, because the show and the group is big now.
Yeah, which like I kind of forgot that those were at Sir. I don't know. I'm
Mhm.
so used to in present day having soundstage ones for
Yeah.
everyone that it seems weird that they did that in the restaurant.
Yeah, it seems really weird. They're still in LA, but
Hmm.
it's still weird.
Yeah.
Married life for the Bubbas are amazing. Schwartz says there's three rings: the engagement ring, the wedding ring, and suffering. I was
Good.
cracking up. That was a good one. That was a good one. That was hilarious. Don't say that if I'm your wife, but that was
Oh, no, no,
hilarious.
no. But
That was awesome.
for watching it on a TV show, loved.
That was awesome. Stassi went on the honeymoon with the Babas.
I
This is my Roman Empire because all my friends who are getting married, I'm always like, do you want me to come on the honeymoon or?
Okay,
And they're like, that's weird. And I'm like, it's actually not.
people who are doing destination weddings are starting to do a friends moon where like for a few days you spend it still with your friends
Oh, I
and then you go on
love.
your honeymoon, and I like that. I want
I
an
like
extra
that.
day onto weddings and not the stupid little brunch on Sunday morning. I
Yes.
actually really like weekday weddings now because I want to hang out with you after the wedding. Like
I love
I'm not
that.
over it.
I'm in on it. Okay, Jax and James are sitting next to each other. Andy's like, you two kind of look like alike. Do you love that? And they're like, oh my
I
God.
have a little, my chin has the same thing they do. I have a little dimple
Oh
on
my
my chin.
God. I don't.
Mine's natural. I'm concerned
Jax,
that Jax
yeah,
isn't
Jax may not
now.
be
Like,
natural.
what?
Sandoval got his hair cut and Sheena's got a new man.
Uh,
Poor Shay, man. This dude,
okay, not really Porsche, but
not poor
like,
Shay, but also rough for Shay.
if that's the way he's finding out is at this reunion,
Rough,
I'm cackling.
rough for
But
Shay.
Sheena, I think we need some alone time. I don't know what the
Yeah.
timeline is on anymore on like season ending, them breaking up, when this reunion is, because I like completely did not look up when this reunion aired, but it seems a little fast for me for such a traumatic divorce.
Agreed.
I think she's going through a
Yes.
traumatic divorce.
Yes. Okay, so the season started with Jack spreading a rumor that his girlfriend Brittany and his whatever Kristen is, and that's when Kristen goes, "Thanks for the formal hi, Andy." And I went, "Oh my God, I forgot Kristen was here too."
Didn't even notice she
Didn't
didn't
say
get
hi to
introduced.
Kristen.
How embarrassing.
But Jax told everyone that he saw Kristen and Brittany hook up. Because so his story is Carter was passed out in the other room. Jax walks into the bedroom and Kristen's face pops up between Brittany's naked legs. And so there was a lot of screaming, and Kristen and Carter left. And then Jax and Brittany argued about it. Andy asked Kristen, and Kristen says it did not happen. James says he believes it because Kristen likes getting with people while her boyfriend's in the other room.
I lost it.
That was a good one. Kristen, of course, gets mad because she hates James, but that was a good one.
I mean, the
That was a good
zingers
one.
people are throwing out are so
They're good.
funny.
They're good.
Like, incredible timing and topics are great.
Brittany says it was just a stupid kiss. Jack starts yelling that they were naked, which, yes, okay, a stupid kiss is a stupid kiss, but a stupid kiss while you're naked,
Is different. But also, are they just in like a bra and underwear? Because that's still a different level than just being fully naked. Because
yeah,
if I am drunk, sometimes I'll like take off my shirt or like pants. You just like want to be out of jeans and then you like lay down, not fully naked as a girl. You know what I'm saying? Like
yes.
if you're
But
drunk, getting out of your
yes.
clothes is top priority
But
as
then
a
my
girl.
other thing is my friend wouldn't be near my legs if I
No,
whether no matter
no.
what, honestly, it doesn't matter if I have jeans on or not. Why are you popping up between my legs?
That's the thing. And I don't, for a while there, I was like, why is Jax talking about this? But it's the reunion. Like, we have to talk about these topics. But he's doubling down and like
Yeah,
bringing up so many details that I'm like, Jax, you do just need to like stop. If, for
for
the
your
sake of your
girlfriend's sake.
relationship,
Yeah.
you have to cut this out.
But yeah, Jack has no remorse about spreading it. He was just a truther, you know?
Classic
But
Jax.
Brittany says she wouldn't lie. So we're not getting anywhere. So
I
we
believe
pivot.
something happened for sure.
Yes,
I think this happened. But I think Jax should
I do
shut the
too.
fuck up.
I think this happened. I think Jax is being a terrible boyfriend. I think that they're being secretive because of Brittany's conservative family.
1000%. And I weirdly respect her for that because I would not want to be blasted on TV if like my family would have problems with this. Not saying that
Yes.
like it's okay that her family has problems with it, but still like you have to respect her family dynamic
Yes.
and what she chooses to put out there
Agreed.
when it concerns like her family.
I agree. Okay, so anyways, Katie and Tom, they were planning their wedding. Katie had no idea what was going to go into planning this wedding. Schwartz obviously was both helpless and clueless. He knew nothing. He asked the boys to be groomsmen with butt steaks, and Jack said it tasted delicious. We switched to bridesmaids. Stassi's so thankful to be a bridesmaid, so she wanted to cater to Katie's every need. Um, Katie didn't think anything negative about the prenup because it's just marriage insurance. Lisa said, I don't know why they got a prenup because they were broke, which
I'm dying.
I get. Hilarious. Because I think a prenup, because you still share everything you make in marriage, right? With a
Well,
lot
I
of
think you can
prenups.
outline that.
Yeah. with a lot of prenups, it's usually what you make in marriage, you split.
Yeah.
It's before marriage. They
Well,
hadn't.
a lot of people don't understand is like even if you don't like sign your own prenup, the state you live in and the state I guess you end up getting divorced in automatically has laws and basically writes a prenup for you on like what will happen to your marital assets. I think it's really important like for people in reality TV where you are going to make a lot or like you have future plans like at their wedding Tom got presented with like a bar and so does
Yeah.
like Katie now have like
A stake in the
equity
bar?
in that bar like
Yeah.
I think you should write what you want to happen, even with your in marital
I agree.
plans.
I
Like
agree.
it's just preparing and like saying what's yours and what's not, because that can also like change fights. Like, does Katie get a say then? Because like it's their stake in Tom Tom.
Yeah. I listen, I'm pro prenup always.
Hell yeah. I
That's
mean,
fine.
not if you have like $50, but if you have future plans or like are starting a business, I think it's really worth it.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. Sheena had said she would never get a prenup. And she still doesn't think differently now because she wouldn't have gotten the prenup. She said at the time they had nothing to lose. So, like,
Yeah.
really, it was their relationship, and she still thinks that was fine. Lisa, of course, is like, if I was married to Shay, I would have gotten a prenup. And I was like, dude, you didn't know it. You don't know,
I
though.
know. I don't think it's
Don't
Sheena's
know.
personality type to do that. I think it would be hard for her to, I'll say, quote unquote, still be like the loving, going into it with so much love
Yeah.
while thinking about a potential divorce. I think that would be really hard for her. And that's
I
okay.
think it
It's a personal
depends.
choice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Katie would have brought up a prenup if Tom didn't.
Yeah.
I
But I
just
don't think
don't
she
think,
finds it as like, you don't love me because of it. Whereas
yes.
I think Sheena
Agreed.
would
I think
think,
Sheena would.
yeah.
I also like I have had this conversation with my parents. My mom really believes that you're going into it thinking it's not going to work out. So like some people just aren't, they think differently about the prenup, which is
Hmm.
fine. But then if divorce happens, then you have to deal with the consequences of not having a prenup.
I know. And I've seen marriages break down in a way that you would have never thought and planned for.
Yeah.
And so, like, I am prepared for the person I'm divorcing to not be the person I know at all.
Yes.
That's how I think
Always.
of it is
Yes.
like the person
You're
I'm
not going to
marrying is
love
not the
me.
person I'm
Yeah.
divorcing. Like we would have to change so much to get to that point. And guess what? Then I don't trust them at all. If we're
Yeah.
divorcing, like clearly there's no trust here.
Agreed. Okay, so Jackson Brittany moved apartments. They're now right down the hall from the Bubbas, and Katie is not happy about it. Sandoval actually talks Jax into it, and Jax pretty much did it because it's probably a bad idea. But basically, they were at their old apartment complex, and he went crazy. So there was a rush on moving out, and he tries to say I didn't go crazy, but what happened, it sounds like, was the air conditioning unit overflowed and ruined like the carpet and some of their things. So
Mm-hmm.
Jax, with his very short fuse, went down there, started yelling at the management, and basically Brittany says the apartment people said get out, but Jax was like, no, I said we're moving out. Either way, moving out paper showed up that day. So
Ooh, that is a quick move. Kind of makes sense. You kind of immediately go to like where you know somebody has a good situation.
yeah.
There's not a lot of people I could live in the same building with. You are probably the only one I could because we have such an open and honest relationship. I could tell
Yeah,
you
yeah,
like
yeah.
leave me alone.
Yeah. I see why Katie would hate this.
Especially same floor.
Also,
I've always told you we're not living on the same floor.
yeah, you have said that. I
Because
think
if I walk out of my door and I'm going somewhere, like I don't want to feel like I'm being like quote unquote caught, you know?
yeah, I think you're overestimating how much time I would want to spend with
I
you.
know.
Because we
No,
would see each other and I'd be like,
it's just the
headphones
idea of it. I
in.
don't think you would be like watching me from your
Where are
door, but
you
it's like that
going?
weird, it's that
Yeah.
weird opportunity that I don't think you would do, but then I would think about it. And I don't like how I would think
Yes.
about things.
I'm telling you, I would see we'd both walk out in the hallway and I'd be like, I have plans. And
I
just like run
know.
away.
Have
Don't let
fun.
you're not
Bye.
invited. You're not
Yeah. I just want to
invited.
run into you like in the elevator.
We're never gonna run into each other in the
I know.
elevator.
I know.
Okay, so let's talk about DJ James Kennedy. When the season started, he was spinning at Sir and Pump 5 nights a week.
I didn't realize that. That's a lot of days.
That's a lot, and DJs don't normally get into fights like he does, but he has no self-control. So, Jax really hated James's set list at World Dog Day. It was the Pump Sessions album that he wanted to plug at the last reunion,
Oh
but
my
Andy
God.
forgot. So then James was very upset. So we're plugging it this time.
Well, what's worse is they said it was that album plus a few other singles just played on repeat. Can you
Yeah.
imagine like 10 minutes worth of music or like 30 minutes
It's
even like
yeah, it's really
repeating? How miserable.
yeah, well, especially to Jax's old ears.
And Jax, Brittany, like those people were like kind of working it, I'll say. So it's not like they came for 30 minutes and left and only heard it one time through. They probably
Yeah,
heard
they
it
were
like four
there the whole
times.
time. Yeah. Okay. Katie and Schwartz fought at that Porsche dealership when they were buying Lisa a new Porsche, remember?
Yes.
Okay, so Katie says that Tom jumped right into the narrative that Tequila Katie was the problem, and that's why they were fighting. Then Katie said that Schwartz's dick doesn't work. Schwartz said he was caught off guard, that so he started laughing, and he's like, "My penis works, right, Jax?" And it was fine. I think we're over it. We're not going to rehash, but
They're just
talk
terrible
about
at fighting.
talk about how your dick doesn't work. My dick works
I
just fine.
It's so funny. I forgot that that happened in a Porsche dealership.
Yeah,
I always vividly remember them sitting in a car and her
yeah,
walking out and going inside somewhere, but I never remembered that it was in the like car dealership.
yeah. Same. Me neither. Okay, let's talk about gay pride. The morning after the killings in Orlando, Lisa said she was so devastated seeing the news, but then said, fuck it, we have to stand strong. Sandoval said he was very inspired against that. Just for some background, if you remember, there was a lot of question of like, is gay pride going to happen? It did
Hmm.
continue in LA. Lisa did say to her staff, you don't have to come if you don't feel safe. So a lot of people did not come. I think Ariana, Jax, and
Brittany,
Sandoval and
Brittany was there too,
Brittany
yeah.
were the only four, and then Schwartz came and visited.
Yeah, I know for sure Katie didn't go.
I
Lala
don't know
didn't
about
go.
Sheena.
Sheena, I don't think went.
She wasn't with the girls, though, I don't think.
No, probably not.
Either way, so that's kind of what happened. Lisa says it was very emotional for everyone there, but it meant a lot to her. She started crying because it was just a terrible thing.
Hmm.
Katie says she chose not to go because she couldn't wrap her head around what happened, and she was scared because there were helicopters and tanks, and a man was arrested with guns, like heading to gay pride.
Yeah.
Um, so Kristen then kind of comes for Ariana and Tom and says, like, well, we were like suffering and being sad at home. They were being naked on a bar celebrating, and we just don't understand. And this is where I was like, ugh,
I
come
hated the judgment
on.
because, well, at the start of that too, Lisa like kind of made a comment where I was like, all right, don't judge the people who did stay home when you gave them the
Yes.
opportunity. But then at the same regard, then why are we judging people for handling it differently?
That's the thing is you really don't know. Like I couldn't tell you what I would do in this situation
No idea.
because I haven't been in it. And I think it's such a niche situation
It
where
was also heightened by like
yes.
the somebody was like arrested too in LA. Like I forget the
Yeah, with
exact
his
situation.
guns.
Yeah, yeah. Like I totally understand being scared at home and then I, in the moment, understand like you judging because you're so scared at home. Like, how are other people taking this like so lightly? You know, it's like probably your first initial thought, but it's the acting on those thoughts. And like,
Yes.
was it Stassi or Katie who sent like the mean text message,
Katie, yeah, we'll get
whatever?
there. Yeah. Katie said, okay, they gave a summary of basically like Katie said something like, there's better ways to handle this than pouring shots down someone's shirt. The text that paused on our screen said, if you guys feel like supporting, I sent a screenshot. Or if pouring alcohol in people's mouths is how you show support, more power to you.
They, that text from Katie makes it seem like Sandoval and Ariana, like Sir was shut down and they chose to like go out and party the day away
Yeah.
instead of like
Here's,
sitting at home sad.
yeah, I think because it's such like you don't know how you're going to react. They had a very similar reaction to Lisa, who was like, fuck these terrorists. Like,
We're not
we're
going
going
to
to
let
go
him get
show
us
them
down.
you
Yeah.
can't win. Like, we will continue to party and celebrate. There were a lot of people, allies, and members of the LGBTQ community that also felt this way because they were there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm sure there were a lot of people that also stayed home, as we saw. They were reeling from this news, and it was very emotional. And I think
Yeah.
like neither one is wrong, but everyone handles grief differently.
There's also a job to be done as the person who's the server. So if it they're acting like they're forcing people who are crying at Sir to take shots. Like that's not
Yeah.
the situation. Like they're like supporting the community that wants to celebrate despite a horrible thing. Like
Yes.
this is still a day of celebration. And so like you can hold space for both emotions. And what bothers me is like again, the in the moment judgment, like I understand more. Even Katie's text in the moment, I understand more. It's like they're doubling down at
Like
this
here. Yeah.
reunion. It bothers me, especially like Kristen. Like, who the fuck are you? You don't work in this industry anymore. Like, you're not in this truly CERT
Yeah.
environment. You have no clue what that moment was like whenever like Lisa talks to each employee. Like, maybe she called Sandoval and like gave a similar speech over the phone, and like Sandoval felt more empowered. Like, you have no idea what each individual person is going through thinking, and you're just putting all this judgment because they're not matching their sorrow the exact way you are doing or expect of them.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything you said. I just don't think this needed to be called out. I think there's a better way to discuss it. I don't think Kristen had to
Mhm.
be like, well, what were you doing? But whatever.
Ariana's ass and like Sandoval's shirtless. Like that
Also,
you're
that's
missing the
not the
point.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this obviously angered the group that was did go and work. Ariana
Mhm.
said they're just trying like to do their fucking jobs at this point. But that doesn't like mean that they weren't sad about what happened.
Yeah.
And Katie said it felt like we were sad and you guys were having fun. And of course, like in the moment, I understand that, but I think now they should have been like, we
Self-reflected.
understand now.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of lack of self-reflection from the mean girl side.
Agreed. I can't wait to continue talking about it.
It just was
Okay.
a consistent theme throughout this whole
Yeah.
reunion, and I was so disappointed because I felt like
In all
everybody
of them.
else,
In
yeah,
all of
everybody
them.
else had their moments where they were like, "This is what I was thinking," but XYZ.
Yeah. And it's very double standardy too, where they're like,
Yes.
like we'll get to it, but there was a lot of like, I can do this to you, but you can't do this to
You
me
can't
because you're
react back
mean
in
when you do
any
it to
way.
me.
Yeah, but
I'm telling the truth. I'm just saying my feelings when I say it to you.
yes, yes, yeah, it really bothered me. They always
Yeah.
want to tell people how they need to like act and react and whatever, and like what
They
works for
don't.
them, but
Yeah.
they're not open to everybody else wanting to do something differently,
Yeah.
especially if
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
other people agree with the other. I'll say it's always them
The
against
other side.
other, and the
Yeah.
other is always wrong.
Yes. Okay, so Ariana says, and I think Ariana says this beautifully, like it wasn't about them having fun. It was about everyone at Pride having fun who like came to
Mhm.
celebrate. Ariana says she's a straight white cisgender person with a lot of privilege, and she felt like there were people in the LGBTQ community who performed an act of bravery every day by just existing, and Ariana wanted to feel like the type of ally that showed up to celebrate them,
Yeah.
which I think is great. And then Jax, of course, says, what does the Q mean?
I can't.
Okay, but they also said it was questioning. I thought it was queer.
I think it's changed, by the way. Whether
What does
that it's changed that it actually changed or like people's
Oh, it
understanding
could
has
be
changed.
queer or questioning. Because
Because
queer is the over umbrella term. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I people have said both, but I know like in the era that this actually was filming and coming out, I always heard questioning at that time.
Oh, okay.
Now, since then, I've heard the term queer much more. So I think, yeah, I think it's a slash
Yeah.
and it's kind of both.
Cool. Okay, so then Lala joins us very early. I was expecting her later, but I'm excited to
Me
see her.
too. And this is a three-part reunion, by the way. So yeah, I was shocked to see her too, but I just don't think her part matters. So they're gonna put her up front.
That's true. We got Shay later, babe. That's the part we
That is
gotta
part
get
three,
to.
I bet.
So Lala joins. You can instantly tell that the mean girls are bothered by
They're
Lala
like
being
straight
here.
up, like their energy is like
Especially,
arms crossed, scowl on the face,
well, it's like when
type
Andy's
energy.
doing his hello. He's like, "Hey Lala, how are you?" Like, "Oh, is that a new tattoo? What other tattoos do you have?" So Lala's like, "I have one around my nipple," and you can see Kristen like, "Ugh,"
Yeah,
and Katie's like,
anything
"Ugh."
they did this all season. Anything Lala does, they have such a problem with.
Yeah,
But
Katie has her
like
nipples pierced, I think. What's the fuck? What's her issue?
and we you said this earlier, like there's always a double standard. Like if she does it, it's wrong. But if they wanted a nipple tattoo, it'd be totally cool because like that's an
Yeah.
expression of themselves. Like Lala's
Oh,
just doing it to get attention.
here we go. Ready? So Katie asks, is asked how the feud with Lala started, Katie says it wasn't because of her. Because the last time she saw Lala, Lala was acting like an asshole at Katie's engagement party. And Katie hasn't seen or talked to Lala, but Lala's talking about Katie and her weight and her relationship and etc. And Lala says, "Yeah, but you were calling me a whore before you knew me, showing my profile picture to everyone." Which we then get a clip of Katie being like, "Look at this whore," and Lala calls Katie a mean girl, which is what we've called these three all season. So I can't fault her, but
Katie, and I don't know if she truly believes this, has like coached herself to believe this or what, but she, in her heart of hearts, sitting at this reunion, believes this is such a one-sided feud and that Lala is a mean girl to her. And I have no idea how she thinks that after like even just watching this season. Like you can't see that you've said some like offhand like
awful things, just like bad things.
Yeah, like listen, it's okay to, or it's not okay, but like you can say like, well, I did it defensively, like I said that stuff, but you still said it. Like you should still have remorse for like trying to tear somebody down, even
and be
if
like,
it was
it wasn't nice. Whether you like the person or not, just be like, it wasn't nice. I think that's the other thing is like, if I say something mean about someone I don't like, I'm going to say, I'm not being nice, but I don't like them and I'm being mean. Whereas the mean girls will be like, what I said was nice because I don't like you.
That's
so for me.
It is like, and I think people across the world, even today, have an issue with being able to do this, is being able to like own their shit and be like, yeah, I played a part in this. Me as Meredith had a issue with a family member over like the last 2 years. And recently I sat down with them and they were like wanting apologies from my family. And I was like, are you ready to show up with an apology? And they were like, why should I apologize? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Do you think a fight does not involve two people? Of course, everybody should come to the table ready to hand out an apology. For what? We will discuss. But like, you should know that like, if there's a problem with someone, you probably also did something wrong.
Also, yeah, that's the thing that I've learned in adult life, especially watching, I think, shit happen amongst other people. I can see in all situations, whether you started it or ended it or whatever, in a fight, both people probably could just be like, I'm like, okay, I'm sorry for all the mean things I said about you. And then you could be like, I'm sorry that I reacted terribly. Like you could apologize for everything. Or like, I'm sorry that we got to this point.
There is something you can find that you did wrong. Like nobody is perfect. And so I think just everybody like humbling themselves and like taking their ego down a notch, it would like, we could solve world peace. Like we could have world peace if everybody could do that. But hey, who am I?
We are nobodies.
Can you imagine tomorrow everybody's like, let's cut our egos and we're gonna
everyone listens to this podcast and goes, you know what, she's so right.
Everybody signs up for the Patreon, listens to it immediately, and is like, you know what, all conflicts no longer happening.
We solved.
Meredith, Nobel Peace Prize.
We're definitely not there though. And what is this, 2016? Let's talk about all the things Lala said. So she said Tom Schwartz has a big D, and Schwartz was like, well, that's a fact. So also, yeah, that's not like an insult. I mean, if it was my man, I'd be like, why do you know? But
I'd be like, stop talking about how big it is because it is.
It's better than saying your man has a small D.
There's a lot worse. There's a lot worse. But because Lala said it, it's horrible.
She called Stassi old at 27, and Lala's like, no, I didn't. I said the way she dresses is like a grandma. Which is different. But also, it's different. It's different styles. Also,
well, no. Like, it is worse to say she's old for being 27, but saying she dresses old is not that egregious. Like, I'm not saying she does, but like, it's not as charged as like calling Lala old or Stassi old at 27.
Here's my other thing. When reading these, I tried to think, would I be offended if I hated Lala and she said these things about me?
I would.
Oh, no. If you said my boyfriend has a big D, I'd be like, no. Thank you.
But like the being said I dress old would make me sad.
Especially, no, I would. Especially me myself, Stassi, I'd be like, nah.
Who prides herself on being like a fashion person. It would hurt Stassi.
I think I would just be like, do you see how you dress? And we'd like leave it at that. But Stassi then says Lala was on a podcast saying how they're all old has-beens and has been the star of the show. And Sheena's like, you said that about yourself. And Stassi's like, yeah, I know. And I had to answer for it. So now I'm making her answer for it.
Which, I mean, it's fair.
Fine.
Like, she should answer for what she has said, but hey, Mean Girls, you should answer for what you have said also.
Agreed. So Lala, this was the one I'd be mad at. Said Katie and Schwartz will get divorced. And she just genuinely says, I think it's going to happen. And Katie's like, yeah, because you know me and my relationship so well. And Lala goes, just like you know mine, watch yourself. And I was like, ooh, but that was good. That was
That's
a great
true.
clapback.
Yep. I think it is mean to say they're going to get divorced, but that also is an opinion. So, like, as long as she doesn't say it like more than once, I don't find it again to be that mean. It would hurt me, but we're not friends. So, like, why do you
I don't care what you say
about her opinion so much?
Agreed. So Lala owns that she said these things to be hurtful because she's really tired with this group. Sometimes she just needs people to ease up on her. For example, when she apologizes and then expects people to stop coming after her, but they continue to.
Mm-hmm.
So then Kristen and Stassi and Katie, also we talk about how they hate Lala's jokes, which I think is just Lala, like when she's like, I can't wait to get fucked tonight. And these three girls are like, oh, she's such a whore. And James is like, it's just because they fucking hate her.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And Kristen is like, you hated her too until you fucked her. And then Sandoval basically says the mean girls take no accountability for the shit that they say about her. Lala says, why is it okay for you guys to do this, but I can't do it back? Yep. And then this is where Schwartz makes his stupid joke and says, we've earned the right to be assholes to each other. You haven't earned that right.
To each other.
Fine, but can't be an asshole to her. You don't know her well enough. That's the thing.
It's a give and a take. So like if you can't take it, you don't get to give it then.
Yeah, agreed. So, and then that's kind of the end of that conversation. So then we go to the OK Magazine party. This is where Jax tried to fight James, and he only didn't because he was on probation. And also Sandoval's like, Jax isn't going to do it. Like he just won't.
No, I actually think he's kind of a bitch when it comes to fights. He loves a big show. Jax loves a big show no matter what.
Yeah, he loves it. Okay, so James said a lot of stuff, but one of the things he said at this OK Magazine party was that Sheena had work done on her face. He said a nose job, and Sheena's like, yeah, but I Snapchat my face every day, so there's no way I could have gotten a nose job.
The most Sheena defense I've ever heard in my entire life. I like take a picture of myself every single day, so like there's no way I could have.
Immediately, I believe she's never had a nose job. Like immediately,
I agree because like I believe that she takes a Snapchat of herself every single day.
Every single day, yeah. So, James said he apologized for that. He apologized for calling Katie pregnant, and he apologized to Schwartz for saying that thing about Katie. So he has said he's apologized. It's not the group didn't say no, you didn't. So it sounds like the apology happened, and
good
like
on James, way to be an adult.
Moved on. Ideally, Lala made a comment about winter bodies. She's like, "Ooh, it came out, you know." And Stassi's like, this is why I don't want to be friends with you. Why would you want to be friends with someone who calls you fat? And then Ariana says, why would you want to be friends with someone who calls you anorexic like you did, Kristen and Sheena? And I was like, ooh, I did. Remember that joke that we both went, that was a poor joke.
Yep.
Yeah. So Ariana says that's also body shaming. And Stassi said it was a fucking compliment. Kristen thanked me. That's and Andy literally goes, ooh, you think that's a compliment? And Sheena said she found offense to that. And Stassi doesn't apologize. She just goes, I didn't know you found that offensive. And she goes, she tries to
defend herself rather than to listen to Sheena, who has a different opinion than Stassi. Like, this is where the opinions have to be that of the group really like does such a disservice to like all of their friendships. And this is why Sheena will never be that close of friends with like them, because she does have differing opinions, and not in a bad way, but they cannot accept.
They can't handle it.
Differing opinions.
They can't even handle when Sheena says that is not a joke to me.
Yeah, like that hurts me.
And I guess Stassi keeps telling, I think Stassi brought it up a lot because it sounds like she kept telling Sheena to stop being so skinny. And this is a problem a lot of people have. And like, I think until recently we thought when people said, oh my God, you're so skinny, it's like a real compliment. But especially recently, it's like people who are naturally skinny are saying like, it's not, like, because I also get made fun of being too skinny. And like, why are we talking about my body even?
It's a struggle for people who like want to gain weight, but then also for those who wanted to be that size, I'll say it reinforces this idea that like you need to be a small size to like feel value, which is not okay. It's like we've come a long way to just stop commenting on people's bodies, which I'm really happy about. But in
Yeah.
this reunion, like Stassi realizes like, oh, she has had that conversation with Sheena a lot of, like a few times. Like the light bulb clicks on like Stassi realizing, oh, that is something that does affect Sheena, and Stassi did know about it. But yet we still don't really get an apology. Like
No, we get it like it's a compliment. Okay.
it clicks and it's like, oh, but that's where it stops. And that's what frustrates me is
Yeah.
like they can't humble themselves to give an apology where again, I don't think Stassi was trying to be malicious about this comment about bodies, but recognize that, realize that, and give an
Yeah.
apology where it's due by saying like, I didn't know that that was upsetting you and I'm really sorry.
Yeah, because I think people find different things in different or different. Like I think if someone called Stassi anorexic, she'd be thrilled. But like that
Yes.
doesn't mean everyone's okay with you speaking like that. And just because
Yeah.
Kristen says it as takes it as a compliment doesn't mean everyone's getting it taken as a compliment.
Mhm.
And like we really do just need to stop commenting on people's bodies
Yeah, and your
because
intent doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I think it
no.
helps show whether you're being malicious or not, and that does affect like the level of apology. But just because your intent to harm was not there doesn't mean an apology isn't warranted.
Agreed. I also don't like how Katie's big argument is stop commenting on my body when she got called fat, but like no one else is held
But can't
accountable for
hold.
when they comment on someone
Mhm.
else's body.
Yeah,
So,
it only has to do if it's Katie's body. That's what
yeah,
it
no,
is the rules only apply to their bodies or
yeah.
like things
If
against
you call
them.
them fat, but
Mhm.
skinny is fine.
Yep.
Never forget the Barbie movie. You can't be fat, but you can't be skinny. Or like you have to be skinny, but you can't be too skinny. That whole
I
thing.
try and read that often because it like reminds me of how I
Yeah.
felt when I first heard it.
I know. Little teardrop. Loved it. Okay, so Schwartz is asked about letting James off easy for calling Katie pregnant. But went after Katie for questioning Tom and Ariana's loyalty. James says, or not James, Tom says he was seething at James, but he then felt like Katie got off on this like trap and got mad at Ariana and Sandoval for taking James's side when it wasn't that wasn't what they were doing. So I think Schwartz got sidetracked in the like you're not understanding more
Yeah.
than what has happened to you kind of thing. Plus, I think
Yeah.
Schwartz at his core is a diffuser and he loves to go after the people he cares about most.
Well, especially the people he thinks don't deserve it. Like I don't think that Ariana and Sandoval deserved the as much heat as they got. And I think Schwartz believes that like if Katie had directed her anger at
James.
James, I don't think Schwartz would have stepped in as much because
Yeah.
like that's where the anger needed to be channeled. Like he wants to diffuse the situation overall, but he really wants to diffuse it for people who are being like wrongly like attacked, I'll say.
Yeah. Agreed. Um, James said it was only because he was provoked. And Katie keeps yelling across that it's not okay. So we don't really get a lot of like James's comment, but then Sandoval says, see how much it hurts when you take no accountability for provoking, and now we argue about if it was provoked or not. Sandoval basically says that Katie does this and is mean, but the minute someone is mean to her, it's like a crime and she doesn't change her opinions. Which I think Sandoval keeps getting involved this reunion. Like I caught myself towards the end being like, God, just shut up.
Yeah.
I think he's right, but he's not in it. So it's like hard to hear.
I know. I have that same moment because I think Sandoval can be a voice of reason. However, the Mean Girls hate
Don't
him
like
interjecting.
him.
Yeah, and so he can't be their voice of reason. He's a
Agreed.
voice of reason, I feel like, to the audience to be like, yeah, like where does the accountability lie between people? But I do hate when other people step in on like a fight. Like a fight truly is like tends to be 1-to-1, and it's like why are you getting so involved unless somebody like truly needs help communicating their issues or like their point and like clearly we're getting caught up and like the communication isn't working well. I don't think you need to step in. Like I don't think this was at a place where Sandoval needed to step in.
No, I don't either. But whatever. So Andy talks to Lisa about her chefs at Sir that we love. So let's talk about the cooks. Christian and Guillermo are voices of reason. So Andy goes into Sir and asks their opinions on the staff in Spanish. So Andy like can't respond either because Andy just learned these questions.
Yes.
He's like, Tango preguntas. And they're like, you have questions.
He
right,
clearly either knows basic Spanish to be able to ask these questions and has memorized them, and he can hear what they're saying, but he can't converse back.
No, yeah. So it's very funny. But basically he asked the best looking. They say Katie, she's beautiful and hot.
Love that for her.
I know.
She is gorgeous.
They think Lala's a very attractive woman. They think Kristen's crazy and the restaurant's better without her.
Hilarious. I mean,
what do they know about Kristen and Brittany? They know that Kristen was doing sexual things to Brittany. Do they think it's true? They're like, who knows with Kristen, but probably yeah. They hate Kristen so much. They also ask, or Andy asks about Brittany and Jax, and they say Jax is no good for her. He has a lot of women. Brittany, Kristen, Laura Lee, Stassi.
The Laura Lee comment.
Laura Lee was hilarious. Like you could just tell Andy was like, yes. Give me more.
Lost it because like it really quantified how many people Jax has run through in this restaurant. But
that's
the throwback
we know
to season 1, Laura Lee, like they don't know Carmen and like the other girl. Like
yeah,
there's so many others that have already been on this show. But just think about his life in like the off seasons. Like these are 3-month chunks of his life.
Yeah, he's getting with everyone.
God.
Also, they don't like Jax because Jax comes into the kitchen and he takes things and they want to chop off his hand.
I would love to see them try to chop off his hand.
I would also love this. I
Give
think
me a live camera into the back of Sir, like just in the corner of my screen of constantly what's going down.
Why is he grabbing shit? This is their domain.
Stealing stuff. Remember in his apartment, he has all the silverware, like
your grubby little hands out the kitchen.
I don't want that stuff in my apartment.
No, and also, what if God forbid Lisa's like, where is all this shit? And she blames these cooks.
It reminds me of when I was in college. We used to take so much dishware from our dorm dining hall, and they had to have an amnesty box to like get stuff back because they were running out of dishes. I mean, I had a good chunk. Like at Thanksgiving, we all had to like bring it back.
Oh, sad. They think Brittany is very nice and has nice hair and big boobs.
Which is, I mean, all true, by the way.
Yeah. They also love Lisa. So yay. Okay. James, he is still dating Raquel exclusively. They've been together a year. So now we got to talk about Gigi, in which I immediately went, oh, this bitch still.
Gigi especially. The other one like had more weight to me, but like I'm like, stop giving Gigi her 5 minutes.
Yeah, so James says he did not sleep with Gigi while dating Raquel. Ariana heard from someone who was Gigi's friend that Gigi said she would fight or fuck anyone to get into this group. And Lala confirms that Gigi said this to her. And Brittany's like, they could have still had sex though. And Lala's like, no, yeah, I believed it until Gigi said this though. Like, which you want to know what I think happened? I think James did fuck Gigi and Gigi went, but I think Gigi pursued him. I think Gigi was the aggressor because she wanted to get on the show.
Yes.
It happened. And then she really tried to get on the show.
And I love that it didn't work.
No, but I love Stassi. Like, who's this bitch? I gotta go after her.
I love that Stassi's like, you're not getting on my show. And I just want to confirm for everyone, because this isn't like some major spoiler. We will never see this girl again.
Who the fuck is Gigi? Yeah, when she popped up and you and I both went, who? Like, that should have been a spoiler in itself.
I, as Stassi, would also be defensive of this show. Like, get out of here. You're like, you're nothing to us, especially if like that's what your storyline is. Like, no, come on, do better.
Go away. So, okay, we talk about Ellie. Ellie was the other girl who had the picture that was timestamped that James says is probably photoshopped. And he says, because girls falsely like claim that they sleep with celebrities, not himself per se, but they do this. So that's probably what she did. But he has again slept with Ellie, but not since Raquel. But everyone's fucking cracking up. James was so funny this reunion.
I agree, because here's the thing. I appreciate him being like, I have slept with her. I'm not denying that across the board with what's her name? Wait, what's the second girl? Ellie. With Gigi, like, again, fuck her. We don't care about her. But they're all like, It would be, oh wow, she'd go to all the trouble to like Photoshop this. It would not be hard to Photoshop this. It's a date and a time.
Also, Sheena's like, but Sheena makes a good point where she's like, James is like the worst one on the cast to sleep with. Why would people lie about this?
Well,
I was like,
because of the
no.
show, I feel like
Yeah,
people would lie about it.
he's an easy in to the show.
I think, especially if you've already slept with him, it's easy then to claim it after the
Yes.
fact. Like,
And
be like,
the
oh, we slept together again on, March,
yeah,
whatever the
and
date
the
was.
other three men are all wifed up, so they're gonna be harder to get a hold of. Raquel is at school. She's
Yes.
gone.
This
Yeah,
is an
so
easy storyline to pitch, whether it's true or not. I think James slept with both of these women.
same. I think he cheated on Raquel.
And I also just don't care.
Agreed.
This was
I
a
don't care.
stupid storyline, and I'm so mad that we
That's
even
it.
spent this much time
I
on it.
don't care about Raquel. I don't care about Gigi. So I don't care if James slept with either of them.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So Schwartz says Dodie should conduct an independent investigation.
Yeah,
Genius.
okay.
But
she's the
not
independent
impartial.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's not impartial. So James gets mad and says he loves Raquel so much and he doesn't give a fuck what anyone thinks about him. He's happier than he's ever been with Kristen. And I was like, yeah, bitch.
Well,
everyone would be. That relationship
Kristen,
sucked.
but also he's giving me male Sheena vibes of like trying to force so hard that things are so incredible that I'm
Totally
like,
fine, yeah.
the more
Don't
you say
believe
it's
you.
incredible, the more I don't believe you.
He's cheating on her. He's
But again,
cheating on her.
I don't care that much because
I
I
don't
don't
either.
care about him, these girls he slept with. I don't care about Raquel. I barely care about James because James is barely on this show.
Yeah. So I'm just like, do whatever you want.
I'm
Doesn't
like, sleep
affect
with
me.
everyone,
Yeah.
please.
So Jax is like, yeah, but like getting with Kristen got you on the show. And James is like, hell yeah, fucking did. And they high five, which is so funny because then everyone is shook and they're like, you fucked Kristen to get on the show. And he's like, hey, James is like, I was getting on the show regardless. I was either moving in with Tom Sandoval or I was fucking Kristen. So either way, I'm on the show.
Yeah. That's how you get on the show, people.
And then he also is like, besides Kristen slept with like three of the guys sitting over here. She slept with most of the cast. And Andy's like, am I the only one that hasn't slept with Kristen? And they're like, Schwartz has it. And so Andy's just like gay though. So he's not going to sleep with Kristen.
Yes.
So,
it is insane. It truly is insane.
So then Stassi says, James, you're like Gigi. And James is the funniest. He goes, shut up, Stassi. Look at you crawling back from New York saying, help me, take me back as he's crawling on the ground.
So
and everyone
funny.
Dies laughing because it is so funny.
James just has a way to hit people at their core in the funniest way to the audience.
Yeah, he is so funny. Even Jax is like, you're really funny today. And James is like, I'm not even drunk yet.
I love him. I think he is so funny. Like
he is.
I don't even know the words to describe it, but I enjoy it.
He's quick. He's quick with a comeback. The way he insults you, it's almost like he's crazy, so you're not taking that. But like when he's like, oh, shut up, Kristen, you fuck like half the people here. Like people just laugh because it's A, true, but B, James is in that bucket. So it's just like extra funny.
Yes.
Like,
and it doesn't, his tone and like giggliness of it makes it seem less serious. So then I don't actually feel bad for like the receiver of the diss.
Yeah. Plus, like,
I just laugh.
When Stassi was like, you're Gigi. And he's like, oh my God, okay, come begging again, bitch. And it was like so funny because it's true. Like he's just so quick.
He has a read on people so well because like his jokes are true most of the time.
So funny. Everyone was dying. He even like looks over and he's like, how is Jax my fucking best friend at the reunion? And Jax is cracking up. He loves James.
This like day worth of a friendship. The friend for a day between these two, I'm loving. I like want them to get along now.
I bet that after this reunion, those two go out, right? They just have a day, and then after that, they never talk to each other again. But it's just moving. They're like, let's just have a night. Let's see where it goes. And I bet it goes fine, and then they never speak again.
I love it so much. And
hilarious.
Jax like says like, this is my favorite reunion. And honestly, Jax is like not problematic. He's usually typically in the hot seat. Like I think him and James could be friends if Jax like cut the bullshit and was not defensive. Like a lot of Jax is
the same person.
Yes. And that's sometimes actually why people have a hard time being friends though too.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like Jax feels way too seen with James. So he
James
like
knows his
can't.
bullshit because he's pulling the same
He's
shit.
like,
And
take a
Jax
step
knows
away.
James is bullshit because he's been there, done that.
Yeah.
Like looking at a younger, hotter version of yourself. Jax
Which
is like, fuck.
terrifying.
Yeah. So Lisa has a soft spot for Lala. She thinks Lala has this hard exterior, but really she's very soft on the inside, and she was a great hostess. They got a ton of compliments. She seems like she would be a fine hostess. Ariana says I love how Ariana keeps it that Lisa made her do this. Ariana's like, Lisa, remember when you made me take all the girls to the back of Sir? I was hoping it would go differently.
Yeah.
And like people would see the good side of Lala. And this is when, Sheena apologized to Lala for spreading a rumor if it wasn't true. And then this is also where Katie got mad at her. But Kristen at the reunion says, that's bullshit, Sheena, because you did think it was true. To which I wanted to shake Kristen and go, thinking it's true and it actually being true are two different things.
Yeah,
Sheena didn't apologize for saying like, oh, sorry for thinking it's true. She said, if it turns out I'm wrong, I'm so sorry about that. Okay, and she's like, and I'm done saying it, but I still think what I think.
I think Stassi is smart enough to recognize the wording on like this apology, but she never actually heard the real wording.
Yeah.
I don't think Katie and Kristen are smart enough to understand actually what Sheena was saying.
Agreed. Because Stassi would pull one of this shit.
Yes, I honestly think Stassi's sitting there being like, genius. Like that was a good one.
She wrote it down.
I see that you're just trying to move forward with your work life and like cut like this really terrible tension at this restaurant.
Yeah.
But you're not really like bending the knee because everybody else, like the audience, will see through this apology.
Yeah, agreed. So Sheena says, if it's not true, then why not apologize for it? And Kristen goes, because you weren't sorry. And Sheena's like, yeah, because when I was sorry, you three shat on me, basically. Yeah. And now Kristen's like, don't blame this on us. You're to blame. And I was like, oh my God, Kristen, who are you? Sit on your end and just shut the fuck up.
They sit there and act like they're dolls who don't say or do anything. And that like
everyone's responsible for their actions except them.
They don't do anything. Well, they are responsible for their actions, but they don't do anything. Is like their mindset is like they don't do anything wrong. So like they wouldn't have anything ever to apologize to anyone. Maybe once in a blue moon, like, fucking Jax, they have like something to apologize for.
Yeah.
But in their daily life, they do nothing wrong. I just can't imagine. Actually, I can. I bet I was like this at like, right out of college, where I just truly didn't think I was doing anything wrong or like made anybody feel some type of way. I do think like you are responsible for your own emotions and processing those, but to think you don't have any effect on people like these three do, it is like truly insane.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. This is where it gets a little rough, where I really am like, fuck these mean girls. Also,
well, you can't rationalize with them. There's nothing to rationalize about what they're saying or doing. So it's like really difficult.
Andy gets kind of like shady with them too. He's like, are you kidding me? Like it's like crazy talk. So Katie was there when Sheena apologized. Katie's like, yeah, I was confused about why she did that. And Andy's like, at the time you seemed perfectly fine. And then when you told Stassi, that's when you got mad about it and you rage texted Sheena.
Yep.
And Katie's like, I see how people think that, but
like that's not what
happened. Stassi was super upset about the apology because the second Sheena gets heat, she just cowers. And Sheena's like, why can't I change my mind?
I do think Sheena does that often. And so like I get whenever this story comes to Stassi, why Stassi is like upset. Because again, like Stassi was told the incorrect story first off. Like she was told that Sheena like groveled and like that shit would piss me off too. Like I would be upset if the version Stassi got like was told to me.
Yeah, but once you're Stassi seeing it, you're like, fuck, she did that so well. It's like my own. It's like I grew her.
That's why I wish like Stassi would. I don't think Stassi has anything really to be accountable for, but I wish Stassi would stand there and be like, I see it differently now. Like that's not what happened. Like Sheena, I don't think you did anything wrong.
That's the other thing. I know Sheena's a flip-flopper, and I totally get that, but I think she genuinely, like, these mean girls hold on to shit and let it fester and hate. Sheena doesn't have the energy.
They keep score on what Sheena agrees and disagrees with
everyone. I'm talking like they will hate Lala from the beginning, and they will let that build, and they will keep going, and they will just count everything she does wrong, and they do nothing wrong because she's the worst. Sheena sees Lala, and then she hears Lala being hurt, and Sheena has the ability to be like, you know what? It's not worth it for me to keep hurting this person when they're
Yeah, she
already
like wants to
down.
move on and let it
Like
go.
she's really good at just not holding the grudge. Like
Yes.
she just forgets.
Whereas the mean girls like get off on it.
They have their burn book and they keep adding to it. Like they'll never forget what's in it.
They constantly remind each other because they cycle it to each other too.
That's
They're
the
in
other
this
thing.
washer of like,
These
I hate
three are
Lala,
a
you hate Lala,
nightmare.
we hate
These
Lala.
three are I would hate to date any of these three because you know it's getting recycled over and over. That's why even listen, I think Schwartz is totally to blame, but he will never get the minute Katie says, "Guess what Schwartz did to me?" These three are going to be like, "Fuck him, let's light him up." Which light his ass.
In that situation, I also think it's important as like Katie to know what you're telling your friends. Sometimes I think we overshare with people because we want to be validated by these opinions. And so I want to, if like I'm in a relationship, learn to like what to hold in and process myself because like you're also like changing somebody else's opinion about somebody else when you're venting. Like
exactly.
You could be doing serious damage to your partner and
you don't even realize it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like their reputation within your family and friends. I tell my sister this a lot. I'm like, you got to stop complaining because you're going to make me hate your husband one day.
Yeah. I'm trying to like your husband. Just let it be.
I love her husband. So I'm like, don't ruin this. Like we have a good thing in our family. Don't ruin this by overdoing it. Like it's okay to complain to me about him, but like every day, like you're going to make me hate him.
It's not a thing. Okay. Sheena says she is afraid of the mean girls being mean to her. And they're like, we're not mean to you, Sheena.
Oh my God. When they all three talk at the same time at her, I'm like, do you not see how this looks? Do you not see how this feels to her?
It looks crazy.
Even if three people liked me and talked to me all at the same time, I would be overwhelmed.
I think the other thing too is Sheena's trying to get a little vulnerable with her like emotions here, right? She's trying to be like, I'm scared of you being mean and like I've tried to like do this and you guys just shit on me. And they're like, no,
it is so funny to me when Sheena's like, I'm scared of you. And Kristen's like, you're not scared of us. And I'm like, you're screaming at her? What do you
basically pulled out a knife and was like, stop being scared.
Yeah, like I kind of feel like I'm being held hostage emotionally by like, I'm not allowed to say you guys scare me because then you're going to yell at me and actually make me scared. But then I can't say that.
I'm scared. Yeah. And then Sheena's like, if I'm nice to Lala, you guys wouldn't be my friend. And they're like, that's bullshit. And I was like, that was a literal conversation because Katie saw Sheena talking to Lala at Sir and went, why are you talking to her? And we got mad at her and turned the whole group against her. And Sheena was just basically being like, it's chicken is the special today. Like, it was so stupid.
I forgot about that. Yeah. It was so
like,
bad.
how was your weekend? And Sheena's like, fine. And then Katie's like, what are you doing? Like, it's that bad.
To the point where then Sheena, remember they were like rolling silverware and Sheena was like, I can't talk to you.
I can't speak to you. Yeah. So Sandoval calls Katie out on her bullshit because she's literally said that whoever is friends with Lala is dead to her. We see the clip. They call Sheena a flip-flopper and Sheena says she does flip-flop. Like she's like, I do, but she says it doesn't work for you guys if you don't like someone because like we need to have the same opinions. And Katie's like, I don't like when Sheena turns herself into the victim and calls us bullies. And I was like, she's not trying to do that. She's trying to say, like, I'm part of the problem.
Yeah. Well,
like Sheena should be okay having a different opinion, right? Sheena's like 30. At that point, we should. But also, you have three people yelling at you and you just want to be included. And you're like, okay, here's my opinion. But like, really, you like a different thing?
I hate, because I think the word gaslight is too strong here. But it's like that thing where like Sheena is saying something that is very real to her and they're telling her it doesn't exist in Sheena's mind. And like, I don't think you get to control what somebody else is feeling or thinking.
You know what?
And the dynamic of 3 against 1, no matter what it's about, still hurts no matter if Sheena is wrong or not.
You know what? I love that because I would, as a kid, always be like, I feel like I didn't do anything wrong. I don't have to apologize. And I would tell my mom this specifically with my siblings and even with my parents. When I would talk back, I'd be like, I don't think I did anything wrong. And my mom would go, but here's the thing, you hurt my feelings and you can't control my feelings that I have about you. So you should apologize for hurting my feelings. She goes, you can't control how other people feel. So you always need to take that into consideration, whether you're right or wrong. You may have made them feel a certain way, and that's very real to them.
Yeah, you're so rooted in like your rightness or wrongness, and rather than like seeing how your friend is okay.
Yes. So Sandoval calls Katie out for also exaggerating what happened to Stassi, which we knew about. And Ariana says that she was there and she tried to talk to Stassi about it at the pool.
Oh my
but
God.
Stassi flipped the fuck out. And Stassi goes, yeah, that's because I was drunk. And I
Okay,
was like, then
bring that
talk about it
explanation
later.
today. But like,
Yeah.
then say like I freaked out and I now see that,
Yeah. Say
like
that
other people were right.
you recognize.
Yeah.
So Ariana does her Stassi impression, which is kind of fine, kind of mean, but also hilarious because they don't like each other. Sheena says she was really nervous to go to the pool party because Katie and Stassi were mad. And Sheena says they make her nervous sometimes. And he's like, Sandoval, this is where I'm like, ugh, Sandoval. He's like, I get nervous too around them sometimes.
Oh my God. Stop
And
centering
then,
yourself.
and then James, of course, is like, me too.
They are. I'm scared of them.
I'm scared of
I'm
them.
scared of them.
Yeah. So Sandoval says Katie was very emotionally vulnerable. And instead of talking to Katie, Stassi and Kristen let her just like run wild and hurt people. Um, so
Which
at
like
the
is a read. Like that is so true.
so at the pool, Stassi told Sheena to stand up for something. And Stassi just always thought that they had the same opinions. And Andy's like, okay, why do you have to have the same opinions? And she's like, we don't, but like they just changed. And Sheena's like, yeah, you just think it's easier if I have the same opinions as you. And both Katie and Stassi are like, no, we don't. We're not saying that. And James starts laughing because he goes, did you just see that? And Andy's like, yeah, that was amazing. All three of them said the same thing at the same time. He's like, that's what they're talking about. That's the mob mentality.
It's weird because sometimes you can see that it like clicks to them and they like understand what someone is saying about them being like a mob mentality or like how they're wrong in a situation, but they can't go the next step, just one like half a step to actually like address it and say like I see what you're saying. You can see in their eyes it clicks, but they won't
like,
actually
we can't announce that we're wrong.
Yeah.
So Brittany has somehow remained Switzerland. What does she think about this? And I guess Brittany and Sheena are besties. That's Brittany's closest friend. Yeah. And Sheena did feel like she was being bullied, and Brittany said it's hard to watch. And even Lala was like, yeah, I'm upset about it too. And I haven't even like experienced it the same way. And so now we switch to like from Sheena to Lala because Lala asks, like, why is it so hard if a friend especially says this hurt me? You can't just say sorry, even if you don't agree, which is what we just talked about. Katie says that she definitely did mishandle her feelings this summer. She wasn't ready to accept Lala's apology,
which is okay.
Katie said, which is fine. She says it was an ugly moment and she does apologize for how she treated Lala. Lala gets very emotional, says she waited a really long time for one person to apologize for hurting her feelings. Lala says she also did mean the apology she gave Katie that day. She has a vicious mouth. And then Schwartz is like, hey, you two are kind of the same. I was like, it's like the Jackson James effect. Katie hates Lala because it's like a hotter, younger version of who she fucking is.
And it's amplified because on a show like that, they could take their place. Like, I see why it's happening.
Yeah, agreed. So we make some progress. I feel bad for Sheena because her moment kind of turned into like Katie apologizing to Lala instead of like someone recognizing that Sheena is hurt.
I don't
think we make progress somewhere.
They could ever recognize it because they truly don't think that they are a mob, but it like is on autopilot for them to like gang up on Sheena.
They don't like Sheena. You can't convince me that these three even like Sheena a little bit.
But I think they think that they all can operate independently, and so it would really uncover way too much that they're unwilling to like identify. So like they can't deal with the Sheena of it because they can't acknowledge that they don't let anybody have any separate opinions because then it's rooted in the fact that they're not independent people and like thinkers of themselves.
Agreed. So great reunion. But next time, Ariana doesn't want to get married. Stassi's brother shows up. Oh my God. James and Kristen argue again, and Jax finds it hilarious. We talk about Tequila Katie. Ariana and Stassi go head to head, and Lala's not talking about her relationship.
I mean, wow.
Listen, this was a good reunion. I gotta get that. This is an amazing reunion. I love it. I love I think James will always just be star because he's hilarious for no reason. Jax has gotten off though.
This isn't my favorite season, but I do love this reunion.
Jax and Brittany have really not dealt with a lot.
Well, also, why aren't they sitting next to each other? I was kind of shocked. For a minute there, I was like, did they break up?
I was shocked too, but you can't put Kristen away from the Mean Girls, which is also hilarious that Kristen is removed so far back She's like separate,
she's
which
kind
is
of
hilarious.
nothing.
But yeah, I was thinking like you can't really put Brittany on the side because you can't have Sheena next to the Mean Girls because there's too much happening.
James can't go over there.
James can't go over there. But okay, if you put Kristen on the side with Sheena, that also kind of wouldn't work because her and James can't sit near each other.
Yeah,
and the
like,
two couples have to be in front because that's the poster. So you have the two boys plus the wives.
You basically you could only swap Kristen and James, but like still, like that doesn't make that much sense.
No, because we're trying to get Brittany
I know. Yeah.
And Jax together.
Yeah.
So I think they were just like
they're prioritizing separating James and Kristen over putting together Brittany and Jax.
Yes. And we need Sheena to be yelled at by the mob mentality.
You need the dynamic of separate sides.
And she's cool with Ariana, but we're gonna have Ariana and Stassi go head to head. So they also need to be opposite. You always have to have who's fighting opposite.
Yes.
So they can yell at each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is always a fun time.
I mean, the seating chart is always
I wish
a breakdown.
My whole job could be putting together reunion seating charts where I just have to watch a whole season and go, where should I put everyone? Like that is my ideal job.
We should start predicting it, like writing up our own seating charts ahead of reunions.
The problem is the season doesn't end before the reunion sitting comes through. So we'll have to avoid it until they said we have the reunion.
I think we just have to have an early, like what we think. The day we find out we just write it down.
Should we start doing it? Like after the first episode, we immediately just go, here's our prediction. We change it every week.
I think it'd
be do that instead of like accepted and blocked? We're like, what's our reunion scene?
No, I think it can be a Patreon conversation of here's how I think the like Meredith and Alicia's reunion setup, and then everybody can comment theirs.
Oh, I love that. Good idea. Good idea.
Yeah, we'll add that in.
Okay, so we did it. Reunion 1. Anything I missed, Meredith, or can I sign us off?
No, sign us off with your favorite catchphrase.
Yeah, you know what? Forget what you heard and remember where you heard it first.
Thanks. Bye.